I saw the musical Wicked on Friday for the too many-th time. In the peak of the first act, when Glinda the Good Witch and Elphaba the Wicked Witch are running from the fast-approaching castle guards who are coming to capture them, Elphaba holds out her broom and invites Glinda to get on. Have you seen it? Can you picture the scene? "Come with me," she says. "Think of what we could do together." But Glinda does not get on. Instead, she wraps a black shawl around Elphaba, further cementing her in the costume of what we know to be the infamous Wicked Witch. But every single time, you all, every time I see that musical, I want Glinda to get on. Not only do I want her to get on, I actually think, this time, she's gonna get on, right? It's gonna be a whole different outcome. That she'll resist comfort and what we actually come to know as empire and ride off in hope of something different. Our text for today names such moments as crossroads. With different paths before us, what do we do? One of the risks when we speak about crossroads is our inclination to think of the choice before us as only binary. Even the word crossroad does something in my mind that makes me think of a point. And from that point, either only this way or that way. On the broom or off the broom. Take the job or don't take the job. Harris or Trump. To begin the chemotherapy or not. To move cities or to stay put. This college or this one. In Jeremiah, God has something to say about what we do when we are at such points. Stand at the crossroads and look. Now, to stand and look, we have to stop what? Moving, right? And in a culture that prioritizes speed and requires the demanding rapid output that capitalism and whiteness script, the first hurdle is often stopping and looking. I do wonder if Glinda had stopped just for a clock tick longer and looked, would she have realized that the magically perfect Oz was just a facade? That there was a regime of corruption and power-hungry tyrants at work? Did she know what she was saying no to? Did she probably know and still chose the oppressor anyway? They have treated the wound of my people carelessly. Did you read Reverend Natalie's beautiful email this morning? I've told them how to walk, and they said, we will not walk in it. And next, God continues in Jeremiah, ask. I love this notion of ask. Rather than feel burdened by the decision at the crossroads, what if we saw it as an opportunity to gain wisdom and insight, an opportunity for possibility? Ask for what? Ask for the ancient paths, where the good way lies, and walk in it. So, of course, we need to think a little bit about what these ancient or good paths are. As far as Judah is concerned, the good paths are the ways God has prescribed for Judah to follow in the land of Canaan. The old paths were the way of the worship of God in the temple at Jerusalem. And we ask today, so if there are good paths, that means that some paths are what? Not good. Which means, of course, we need to ask why that is. As Dr. King taught us with the story of the Good Samaritan, in addition to noticing what neighbors stop and help and who didn't, we have to ask why the Jericho road is unsafe in the first place. Are we stopping at crossroads in our lives? Are we stopping in this race to Election Day? One of the most prominent collective crossroads of our time. In our rightful enthusiasm of the nomination of Harris and Waltz over other opponents who we won't name, can we see that the road still is a little unsafe? I wonder what freedom sounds like to Palestinian Americans who've endured genocidal terror for 10 months on the democratic dollar. I wonder what is free about a party that denied requests to platform a Palestinian speaker during the recent Democratic convention. I wonder what is free about investing in police states, attacking bodily autonomy, and hurling aggressions at trans siblings. I wonder what is free about the overt white Christian nationalism and fascism that already grips our country. The erasure of real pain, even within political parties that we champion, sounds like treating the wounds of our people carelessly. Parading peace, peace, when there is no peace. Our crossroads continue. The first time the Bible describes something as not good is in Genesis chapter 2. When speaking of the first human, God says, "It is not good for the human to be alone." So what makes a good path? One where we don't walk alone. It is not good to be alone. We are in a season of crossroads. And honestly, we always are, right? Electorally, the end of summer, beginning of a new school year for some, leaving one temporary worship site for this one, while dreaming and planning, even after worship, about our new site to come. What is it for you? A conversation you need to have that could go one way or the other? A new life on the horizon for you or someone you love? A new loss or diagnosis that will drastically alter how you spend your days? Crossroads tend to cause anxiety and apprehension. That's normal. But I find comfort in the truth that God prescribes community as we move. God cares about how we organize our thoughts, ourselves, our people. Organizing, as Katrina taught our children about earlier, at its core is relational work. Developing leadership, building power, challenging systems that don't work. It's also very spiritual work. Work that raises our consciousness and awareness about the world. Why is the road good or bad? What do we do when the ancient paths no longer work? Whether it be the Jericho Road, an ancient path in Jerusalem, the yellow brick road, the GOP, or the DNC. Stop, look, ask, listen. And what's next? Walk, and then find rest for your souls. We hear this part of the scripture, and it harkens Matthew 11. "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and there you will find rest for your souls." Now, a restful spirit sounds very enticing and honestly pretty far out of reach. I didn't feel totally restful during the Olympics, even though I really wanted to. But when white rage, as Carolyn Anderson coins it, took Jordan Charles's bronze medal, because 3 Black exceptional women celebrating themselves and each other was too much for the white patriarchy to handle, when transphobic lies were slurred at Amani Khalif, flamed by authors of books we really want to love. Any Harry Potter fans? We feel unrest. I didn't feel totally restful watching the DNC, even though I really wanted to lean fully into joy. Don't get me wrong, there were so many moments of much needed joy, but my spirit was unsettled with dismissed global genocide that the party enables. If rest is our promise, if peace is our promise, we are surely not there yet. And yet, rest is what God designs for us, what God desires and claims for us. So what? So we must remember in this fury of crossroads and organizing that while politics absolutely touch every aspect of our lives, that's another sermon, they do not define our lives, and they will never free us. When we remember this, we won't get caught up in standing politicians or political parties. We will find ourselves investing in ourselves, in each other. We will find that our central question won't be who's going to win in November, but rather, will we win? We, as the beating hearts, inquisitive minds, and loving spirits of the world, we who decide what our country will be, who will we become? Will we win? What will this organizing, what will this season make of us? Will we come out more able to create communities of care and accountability, more able to lead with holy curiosity and fierce imagination, more willing to name our privileges and mistakes and ask for forgiveness when we mess up, more able to question freedom for who and freedom for who is not here, more able to demand more from our leaders even while celebrating milestones along the way? Will we be known as people who dug deep and looked back long in the spirit of Sankofa as we define every day what pursuing justice looks like? What happens in November or at any time at the ballot box is of secondary consequence to what we become. Politicians will always let us down. Empires, even the strongest ones, will eventually fall, but we won't. And even so, I imagine I'm not the only one who gets impatient with the crossroads, impatient with the stopping, impatient with the listening and the asking, ready for the rest. Sometimes, the Reverend Dr. Will Gaffney says, God does not answer us or even seem to hear us. But we pass the mantle of prayer down from generation to generation, hoping that if God does not answer our prayer, she will hear and answer the prayer of our children or our children's children. Sometimes waiting on God is an intergenerational affair, but sometimes, she concludes, God is waiting on us. And there are so many ways. If you feel like you are ready, like you feel like God is waiting on us and you have something to give, there are so many ways to show up. As Reverend Natalie mentioned, we are holding a 4-part election series on Tuesdays that kicks off in September, where we're going to be in the crossroads and meet it together. What does it mean to be church in this election season? How will we win? How will we organize and build power for ourselves and for our communities beyond any political party? But what is our responsibility to vote for the best possibility for justice and love to flourish? And on September 17th, back on 50 East 7th Street, Middle is a community partner for National Voter Registration Day, a public witness to our belief that our votes are our voice. And as Reverend Warnock reminded us last week, our votes are a kind of prayer for the world we want to have. We need your help that day to register people to vote, reminding everyone that they count. We need you to write postcards with the Voter Reform Group, volunteer to commune with asylum seekers at our monthly meals, usher, study, teach, plan, sing. And starting tomorrow, as Katrina mentioned, we will gather 40 children for a week of organizing for the kind of future that God desires, raising a generation that asks the questions and dreams the dreams that will bring us closer to the promised land. Michael Walzer writes, "We still believe, or many of us do, what the Exodus first taught about the meaning and possibility of politics. First, that wherever you live, it's probably Egypt. Second, that there is a better place, a world more attractive, a promised land. And third, that the way to the land is through the wilderness. There is no way to get from here to there except by joining together and marching. Come with me, Elphaba said. Think of what we could do together. God calls us not from behind some broom, but anew every morning and every evening. Thank God that we are not alone, that we don't have to have all the answers. Thank God that our crossroads are opportunities for wisdom, that each step along the way isn't the final step, but hopefully one closer to freedom and away from injustice. Thank God that we can evolve along the way and change our minds. Thank God that we have each other and that God has us. So let's build bridges, friends, rather than binaries. Let's create streams of justice to flow through our roads that wash away injustice. And may I also offer this. May we never lose that ounce of hope that this time one more person might get on the broom, that more people will join the cause of liberation than won't. And may we have all the joy and all the rest and all the peace as we march through the wilderness to the promised land together. Amen.